Retro Trekking with the Caramel Apples podcast, the apple snack that brings you a retro vibe, both crunchy and sweet, with your hosts Kennedy Rizzo and Cooper Lee.
Sophia Petrillo. Oh, we have yet another exciting week talking about the individual profiles of the Golden Girls.
Yeah, so glad that we have 4 of them to showcase.
Yes. Yes, this has been like the last few weeks been just a lovely time talking about one of our favorite pop culture references.
Oh yeah, takes you back in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So, we've talked about the Golden Girls in a collective, and you might want to, take a minute to subscribe and to maybe go back and listen to that throwback episode where we actually talk about, the series of the Golden Girls from the 80s. Good stuff. But we have been taking it upon ourselves to actually cheat and go back and talk about the individual roommates.
I don't see how you can, right? Like, you have to dissect this
That's
one
right.
by one because they all brought something to the table.
And there was so much.
Oh, yeah. What do we have, 7 seasons?
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. There's just so much good times to be had when you sit down and enjoy a guilty pleasure episode of Golden Girls.
Literally entertained the entire time it's on. Yeah. Yes.
But this week we're going to be talking about that little rotten Sophia Petrillo.
Well, enjoy and be healthy.
Yes. And she was played by Estelle Getty.
Yeah. And she brought the old lady vibe effortlessly.
Yes.
She definitely was not that old, but she portrayed it like she nailed it. Like, you're like, yeah, she seems like the older people that I would have known then, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of age, I think on her years of the Golden Girls, she was portrayed as actually between the ages of 80 years old to 87.
Wow.
And she was in all 7 seasons of it. Because she's, if you catch our episode of them as a collective, she was only supposed to be a guest star initially.
Crazy?
Yeah. But she won audiences over, and we totally see why.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But she was in all of the episodes, basically. So, and even spilled over into the Golden Palace. So,
Yeah.
Sophia was a mainstay. We are glad was a part of this conglomerate.
She really was, because, man, if you were in her presence, and I'm just speaking on the cast, and they're having their show, they were going to get delivered one-liners like nothing.
Yes.
Like, literally. She was just ready. She was ready to hand them out to everybody.
She was quick.
She was.
And then she had them Coke bottle glasses. And she'd come into a room, and it's like all attention went on her.
Right.
And they all had, she'd suck the air out of the room. She'd walk in, and they'd all have that scared look on their face, like, what's she gonna say? What's she gonna
say? Yeah. And Dorothy was always at the ready to be able to, cover her eyes, or because she just knew.
Yes, they were afraid of Sophia.
Yeah.
She was a silvered hair sweet grenade. So let's dive into a little bit of what she was about.
Well, who would you say, classically, out of the other 3, do you think she got picked on by most? Who do you think she picked on the most?
Oh, Sophia picked. Who did Sophia pick on?
Who do you think?
Well, Dorothy was a given, but I would say Rose.
way.
She kept calling Rose stupid. Like, she could
She
not
did.
contain her frustration on how dim-witted Rose was.
She did. And it's funny because I was going to say Blanche.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know, when you're referred to as a mattress, I mean, like, okay, you know, like she was delivering one-liners to her on that subject all the time.
Yes, she was.
And I think sometimes Blanche would just laugh it off and think it was neat that, you know, but I think other times it embarrassed her. She's probably like, shut up.
She'd have to keep from crying because, boy, Sophia didn't play.
No, she called it like she saw it.
She did. She was very blunt. Well, she was supposedly, Sophia Petrillo was supposedly born in April 17th, 1905. Wow. In Sicily, Italy, yes. So, having going on that, you think of, picture this. Sicily, 1925.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story. Picture it. Sicily, 1922.
So she had a lot of rich history that her character brought to any given episode of the Golden Girls. And she was like kind of like the, what is it? Like the wise, you know, this is the morale of the story. You know, there's a reason I'm saying this. You need to listen to me. You know? But they all looked to her as that beacon of wisdom.
Yeah.
She was ornery. She was little. But Sophia was a wealth of wisdom and information, and they just loved her like we did.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
Also, she had a way with the gentleman. Of course, she had a mom and a dad, and some brothers. I think she had 2 sisters and 2 brothers that she kind of referenced on and off. But her banter, her spark came more from being with the roommates.
Yeah.
And she had a boyfriend pop up here and there. One of the famous boyfriends was, well, of course, she was married. He had deceased to Salvatore Petrillo, which was Dorothy's dad.
Yes.
And he was played by actor Sam Melton. And she had Dorothy, of course, as her daughter, and she had Gloria, and then a son, Phil, who they always poked fun at and made references to his crazy lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they even called him like trailer trash because they were like they're from Jersey or whatever. They just his wife was kind of one of those hardcore Jersey girls, whatever.
Yeah.
But they'd always make reference to that. But she actually came to be with the Golden Girls in the pilot episode, and she had suffered a stroke, so that means she was put away in a retirement home. But the kick was it burnt down. It burnt. There was damage to it. So she ended up finding her way to Dorothy. And again, she was supposed to be a guest.
Yeah.
A guest star. So they weren't planning on her winning the audiences over as she did. So when they saw that she was ratings gold, they were like, she's staying.
I think, I honestly wonder how often that happens in shows.
Yeah.
And probably mainly in shows because they do have, reoccurring themes going on, maybe some in movies too because they try to get the original cast back for sequels and stuff. But I do wonder how often someone that was just kind of supposed to be a blip kind of takes over and they're like, hey, why would we let this go? We want people to keep viewing and tuning in.
Yeah.
And, then your writers have got to be quick Johnny on the spot, and get stuff prepared for them because they weren't originally written in. So yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, what was it at the beginning? The writers, I think, was it Harris, Younger, Witt? It was always kind of the 3 of them.
Yeah,
Susan Harris, Paul Younger, and I think Thomas Witt.
Okay. Nice job.
Well, when you see these buddies on repeat,
yes,
especially when you own the whole box set, that's just great right there.
Right.
But yeah, Sophia's addition to the 3, to Dorothy, Blanche, and Rose was just, it's what it was. Like, you can't even replicate the chemistry that these 4 had.
No.
Yeah. And
even through, maybe like we mentioned in the other season finale on the Golden Girls, that there were some hiccups.
Yeah.
They still were able to, you would never guess it, by watching the show. So whatever was taking place backstage, they were very professional, and they always brought the character that you tuned in to see.
Yeah.
They delivered every single week.
Yes, they did.
It was just, the Golden Girls just carved out a niche for themselves.
They did.
They could not duplicate that now. They really couldn't.
You know, and not that they really tried. They've done other things. They're spin-offs, knockoffs.
Yeah.
Because there were other Girl Squad type shows back in the 80s with like Designing Women.
Yeah.
You know, there's been kind of like spin-offs or knockoffs. But, you know, they had it.
Yes.
And they have not been able to replicate it. And I'm with you, Coop. Dare they try.
Right,
Don't get cute now, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they're on a writer's strike, so we don't... I think they've been on strike longer than the last 3 months. I don't know, because there's been a lot of interesting stuff they've been offering up to the public. But Sophia was best known for her wisecracks, as you mentioned,
Oh my
Q.
God.
Her put-downs and brazen remarks, often commenting on Dorothy's lack of a love life,
Yes.
Blanche's promiscuity, a.k.a. you're a mattress, and Rose's stupidity.
Yes. Yeah.
However, despite her sharp criticism of her daughter and housemates, she loves and cares for them deeply. And she even sees Rose and Blanche as surrogate daughters.
Yeah.
So the other women usually seek Sophia out for advice, which Sophia is all too willing to share. Usually beginning with her catchphrase, "Picture it, Sicily."
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you something else, because like we said, that she portrayed the elderly side of society, right? She really did portray that very well.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, there's certain nuances about being in that crowd, and there's things that just kind of happen as you get older, and you just kind of move on. There was one episode where Rose was entertaining Miles at the house. This is when he's newly introduced, and she had fixed the meal and everything. And Miles wanted to know what all was in the dinner. And cabbage was one of those things that was in the dinner. So Sophia was like, "She feeds me cabbage? I'll be skywriting." So very blunt statement. Miles is sitting there at the table, her first time meeting him. She did not even care. She's like, "This is just a part of life." As an elderly person.
Oh my goodness, Sophia was a hot mess.
She was.
She was definitely the handful.
Oh my God.
She even said, I can't remember which episode it was, that, you know, she was like, I think she was telling Blanche and Dorothy. She says, every morning at 7 a.m., like clockwork, I pee. Sophia pees. Unfortunately, I don't wake up until 8 a.m. She's nuts.
She really is.
Yeah. You know, even though she is a handful in that way, you know, it goes back to her wisdom again, that her valuable part of her surrogate family, when she would tell her stories, often a lot of times they would end with a good morale.
Yeah.
Or moral, the story is moral, sorry. From which advice can be picked up on. So she's probably like, I need to keep doing this, because that way they'll keep me around, you know? She probably felt like a stray cat sometimes or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, in our Golden Girls episode, it said that, you know, you would never know that Sophia suffered from glossophobia, which was fear of stage fright, you know, fear of acting, but she did it. You know, you would never know she had this strange fear doing. I mean, her career depended on it, and she still did it. Yeah,
and it's interesting that she went ahead and pursued it. It wasn't enough to make her say, well, I'm not even going to go down that road. I'd love to, but, you know, just not for me. Yeah. She did it anyway. And turned out to be quite the star.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what is one of your, I know you mentioned something a second ago, what is one of your favorite episodes containing Sophia?
Oh my goodness, there are so many.
There are, yes.
Well, I will say this real quick.
Okay.
She has referred to Hee Haw in one of her quick-witted comments. I think it was to Rose. I can't even remember at this point, but it was just funny that, Hee Haw was a thing at the time.
Oh, yes.
And we actually did an episode on Hee Haw, so
yes.
please feel free to go back and check that out.
Yes, check it out.
But you know what? It's in the parameters, and Sophia knew it and mentioned it. So.
She did. She wanted her little countryside to come through, didn't she?
Yes. But I would say the one where she was doing the mother-daughter pageant for Shady Pines. And it was going to be her and Dorothy, of course. She said originally she wanted the other daughter, but because she wasn't there, she was like, well, you can stand in. You can kind of do it because, Phil can't.
Or could he?
Right. So they were dressed up as Sonny and Cher.
Oh, yes!
Yeah.
I'm with you now. Okay.
Yes, and Rose was playing the piano.
And they were dead ringers.
They were! It was hilarious. And of course, the minute she stepped out on stage looking like that.
Yeah, her little bell bottoms and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, you just immediately start giggling. And then, of course, when Dorothy also joins in. But the clincher is, after they do their little performance right there in the house, Blanche joins in and says, who y'all supposed to be? And they're like, well, who do you think? And she's like, Cheech and Chong. She goes, which one of you's Cheech? Which one of you's Chong? Or something like that. It was like,
Badeem.
Oops. What about you?
Well, again, I'm real familiar with some of the earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I know she had one where it was an ex-boyfriend from the old time that I think talking about the Montecavallo curse or whatever.
Ah, yes.
Which was stuck to somebody. I think it's Giuseppe Montecavallo. That was a boyfriend, ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
And the one that in the competition. Oh goodness, what was his name? I remember. I can't remember, but yeah, he was cute. Bagatelli. His last name was Bagatelli, but I can't remember his first name. But anyway, I like it where she was fixing food for. There was some party or something they had, and there was a hurricane that went through. And she was just fixing all kinds of food. Thought she was having a heart attack. Mm-hmm. And she laid down, and they start reminiscing about things, and they thought she was going to pass,
yes.
But then ended up that she just had indigestion. The Jewish doctor came, and she goes, hey, you're Jewish? And he says, yes. She goes, why are all good doctors Jewish? He said, because their mothers are. And then she's like, have some krepla. So, yeah. But I mean, she just always brought a lot of warmth and cheer to the show.
She did.
So I'm glad that they thought that she was a key asset to keep the Golden Girls popping.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Estelle Getty, she was even in a couple of 80s movies that we remember. Yeah, it was one of our favorite mannequins. She was in that one.
Yes.
She was Princeton and Company's CEO or boss or whatever. She was real good in that.
Uh-huh.
I think she was even in Tootsie, which I don't know a whole lot about that movie. I'm not super familiar with it, but
only saw it one time, and it's been a long time ago.
Okay.
So don't really remember it too well.
Okay, we might have to make that a project. I don't know, just for kicks and giggles. But the actress Estelle Getty, she actually passed on July 22nd of 2008, just 3 days shy of her 85th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was at home, and her family said, which this got to be in the media, that she suffered from Lewy body dementia.
Okay.
That's a bad one. I mean, they're all bad, but that was a bad one. I think Robin Williams had it, or was rumored that he had it. So she did what she could, I think she was even dealing with some of that even in some of the later years of the Golden Girls, excuse me.
Yeah. Because I think it does kind of start
Yeah.
By the time you're noticing symptoms and seeing a doctor, it's probably been going on for quite some time. You just kind of, dismiss stuff. So.
Yeah.
Wow. I am so glad we have been having the opportunity to really deep dive into the specific characters.
Me too.
And getting to look into Sophia. Oh my goodness.
She's nuts.
It's a good time. I mean, literally, I wish we had time to just really dissect multiple episodes. That would be so much fun, but there just isn't time for that.
No. And there are a lot of dedicated forums for hardcore fans to go and find things on the Golden Girls.
Oh, yeah.
And their individual stories. So, check social media out, or sometimes there's nice documentaries that you can stream.
Yeah.
There's tons and loads of stuff on the Golden Girls. But I'm glad that we have access to and can watch readily the original ones, the shows that we grew up with and come to love.
That's right.
Well, enjoy and be healthy.
And that's it for this week's Apple Snack. But as you know, there's always more where that came from. So stay tuned. Subscribe, rate, and spread the word. See you next time in the Retro Orchard, and thanks so much for listening.